What if I told you that every single moment of your life is not happening to you? It's happening through you. That the world you're living in right now is not the only version that exists, but simply the one you've been unconsciously choosing to observe. This is not philosophy. This is science. The observer effect in quantum physics proves something so radical, so life-shattering, that once you understand it, you'll never look at reality the same way again. Because the truth is simple. Your focus is not passive. Your attention is not innocent. Every time you observe, you collapse infinite potential into one singular experience, which means you are not a victim of circumstances. You are the director of reality itself. Stay with me until the end of this video, because once you grasp this, you'll unlock the power to stop unconsciously observing limitation and start consciously collapsing timelines in your favor. The experiment that shattered reality. Let's start with the infamous double-slit experiment. Physicists wanted to see how particles of light behaved. When not observed, they acted like waves, infinite possibilities. But the moment scientists observed them, they collapsed into particles. A single outcome. Think about that. Light itself changes its behavior, depending on whether it's being watched. Observation is not passive, it's creative. This is the foundation of the observer effect. Reality doesn't exist as fixed until consciousness interacts with it. Until then, it's infinite potential. Your life is the double-slit experiment. Most people believe reality is solid, objective, outside of them. But the truth is, your life works just like that experiment. Your focus decides whether potential stays in waveform or collapses into experience. Every belief you hold, every thought you repeat, every emotion you embody is an act of observation. And those acts of observation are collapsing timelines, moment by moment. So when you keep saying, life is hard, money never works for me, love always fails, guess what? You're not describing reality. You're observing it into existence. Why most people stay stuck? Here's the painful truth. 90% of your observation patterns are unconscious. They were programmed by childhood, culture, trauma, repetition. That's why most people don't realize they're not just experiencing reality, they're generating it. They unconsciously observe lack, fear, and limitation into being, and then they call it fate. But fate is just unconscious observation. The neuroscience of attention. Neuroscience proves this too. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, a filter that only shows you what matches your focus. That's why when you buy a new car, you suddenly see it everywhere. The car was always there, but your focus makes it visible. Now imagine this on a quantum scale. Your brain is not just filtering, it's collapsing. What you attend to literally becomes your lived experience. Consciousness creates reality. Here's the biggest shift. Reality doesn't shape consciousness. Consciousness shapes reality. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs don't just float inside your head. They emit signals, they shape probability, they influence matter, which means your attention is not harmless. It's the most powerful creative tool you have. Why you keep manifesting the wrong things. This is why manifestation feels so frustrating for so many people. They affirm, I am wealthy, but unconsciously observe debt. They visualize love, but unconsciously observe loneliness. The universe doesn't listen to your words. It listens to your observation state. And most of the time, that state is rooted in fear, scarcity, or doubt. This is why things don't change. You can't affirm abundance while observing lack. The observation always wins. The emotional frequency of observation. Here's the deeper layer. Observation is not just mental, it's emotional. When you observe through fear, the timeline you collapse reflects fear. When you observe through gratitude, the timeline you collapse reflects abundance. Emotions are frequency codes. They're the energy signature of your observation, and the field always mirrors them back. Coherence, the secret ingredient. Quantum coherence happens when your thoughts, emotions, and body are aligned. When you think abundance, feel abundance, and embody abundance. Your observation signal is coherent, and coherence is what collapses timelines instantly. This is why people who are deeply aligned seem to manifest miracles. It's not magic, it's coherence, the power of focused attention. Attention is like a flashlight in a dark room of infinite doors. Whatever you shine it on becomes the only doorway you can walk through. Most people keep shining it on fear, doubt, and problems, and then wonder why nothing changes. Timeline selection. Every possibility already exists. Every version of you, successful, wealthy, in love, thriving, it's all already out there in the quantum field. You don't create new timelines, you select them through observation. The moment you consistently focus on the version you want, with thought and emotion aligned, you step into that timeline. Practical observer training. So how do you train yourself to become a conscious observer? Step 1. Awareness. Notice what you keep unconsciously observing. Do you constantly focus on what's missing? Do you tell stories of lack? That's observation. Step 2. Interrupt. Shift your attention deliberately. Place it on gratitude, on possibility, on already being. Step 3. Embody. Don't just think it. Feel it in your nervous system. Teach your body that the new timeline is normal. The trap of checking. Here's a common mistake. Constantly checking if it's working. That's just another observation of lack. Every time you ask, where is it? You're observing it's not here. And reality collapses into that. The cure, surrender. Observe as if it already is. Stop checking the scoreboard. Live as the winner. Relationships and the observer effect. This doesn't just apply to money or goals. It applies to relationships too. If you constantly observe your partner as distant, selfish, or unavailable, you collapse that version of them. But if you shift and observe their potential, their love, their growth, you collapse that. People rise or fall depending on how we observe them. Abundance and the observer effect. Same with abundance. If you constantly observe bills, expenses, and lack, your attention collapses scarcity. But if you observe opportunities, gratitude, and overflow, that's what becomes solid. Money is not about numbers, it's about observation frequency. Breaking free from the 90% remember. 90% of your reality is shaped by unconscious observation, which means transformation doesn't require adding more effort. It requires reclaiming your awareness. Every time you catch yourself unconsciously observing limitation, pause, redirect, choose again. This one practice alone will shift your entire reality. From passive observer, conscious creator. Most people live as passive observers, believing life is just happening to them. But the truth? You are not the audience. You are the director. You are the one who chooses where to aim the camera. And whatever you film becomes the movie of your life. The observer's responsibility with this power comes a responsibility. Because once you know you're the observer collapsing reality, you can no longer blame circumstances. You realize if I don't like the scene I'm in, I can shift my observation and collapse a new one. This is liberation, but it's also accountability, the freedom of choice. And here lies the greatest freedom you'll ever know. No matter what timeline you're currently living, infinite alternatives exist right now. You are never trapped. You are never stuck. You are one observation shift away from a completely different life. The quantum practice. Here's a daily practice you can start today. Each morning before checking your phone, pause. Close your eyes. Ask yourself, what reality will I observe into being today? Then choose, declare it, feel it, and walk as though it's already true. The illusion of objectivity. We've been taught that reality is objective, solid, and independent. But the observer effect shows us reality is participatory. Without consciousness interacting, there's no fixed version of the world. You are not walking inside a pre-written script. You're co-writing it in real time. Why you keep reliving the same problems. If you've ever felt like your life is on repeat, same bills, same heartbreak, same struggles, it's because you keep observing the same storyline. Your focus hasn't shifted, so the movie keeps playing the same reel. The quantum mirror principle reality functions like a mirror. If you scowl, the mirror scowls back. If you smile, the mirror smiles. Most people try to change their reflection without changing their face. They demand the mirror to shift first. But in the quantum field, your observation is always the cause, never the effect. The myth of trying harder. You don't need to hustle harder to change reality. In fact, trying harder usually keeps you locked in resistance. Why? Because effort that's born from lack keeps you observing. It's not here yet. The field only knows what you're observing, not how hard you're working. The observer effect in relationships with yourself. It's not just about how you observe the world, it's how you observe yourself. When you constantly label yourself as not enough, broken, behind, you collapse that version of you. But when you observe yourself, hidden observation loops, most people don't realize they're caught in unconscious loops. For example, you expect disappointment, you notice signs of it everywhere, you collapse that timeline, and it proves you right. This is the self-fulfilling prophecy of the observer effect. And the only way out is awareness, the observer effect in health. Even your body responds to observation. Studies show that patients who believe they'll heal activate biological pathways of recovery. The placebo effect is really the observer effect in action. Your cells are listening to how you observe them. The danger of observing through fear. Here's the trap. Fear is sticky. The more you observe from fear, the more your brain hunts for evidence to confirm it. Fear collapses timelines of survival and limitation. Love collapses timelines of expansion and possibility. Which one are you choosing daily? Becoming the neutral observer. Sometimes the best step isn't to force a positive focus, but to step back into neutrality. The neutral observer doesn't cling, doesn't resist. It simply witnesses without judgment. And in that state, you stop reinforcing old patterns and open space for new realities. The observer's discipline. This isn't about one visualization session. It's about training your awareness daily. Just like a muscle, observation requires discipline. The more you catch yourself drifting into unconscious focus, the stronger your conscious observation power becomes. Collective observation and global reality. It's not just individuals. Groups of people observing together amplify timelines. Studies show that when large groups meditate on peace, crime rates drop. When we collectively observe love, abundance, and possibility, the entire field shifts. The observer's liberation closing activation. So let's end with this. You are not small. You are not powerless. You are not a passive witness. You are the one who decides which version of reality becomes solid. The observer effect isn't just a quantum experiment. It's the secret of your life. So the next time you wake up and wonder what kind of day you'll have, don't ask, what will happen to me today? Instead ask, what reality will I choose to observe into being? Because that single choice changes everything.